Before we get to that one, Mississippi State and Arizona State.
Cowbells versus dumbbells. Let's go.
Listen, the line in this game is interesting, only being about 7 points. Last year, this was a 7-point game early in the year before we knew how good Arizona State would be. It's on the road this time instead of being out in Tempe. All that said, this feels like one that Mississippi State would really like to have, but Arizona State cannot. I mean, they can't drop this, can they, Cole?
They can. I mean, they absolutely
with the Big 12, yeah, I get it. But, like, you look at that and you say, how many of these Big 12 teams are they going to beat if they can't beat Mississippi State, right?
No. We're not going to do that. One thing we're not going to do on this show is just look at a logo and say last season was last season, therefore it's going to translate on over. The offensive identity that is Mississippi State is miles better than what it was last season underneath Jeff Lebby. You see the rushing attack with Fluff Bothwell joining the crew. Davin Booth had a great game against Southern Miss. You saw the tight end. I always blank on his name. Sadi Tarok. I know I'm saying it wrong, and I got to get better at learning how to pronounce it because I'm going to be saying it a lot. Had a big 58-yard catch. The offensive, the veer and shoot that they like to run out with Jeff Lebby. Vertical passing downfield. They have the weapons to do that now. They brought in a Brennan Thompson from Oklahoma that was hand recruited by Jeff Lebby to leave Texas and go to Norman. They brought in an Anthony Evans from Georgia who has great straight line speed. Jordan Mosley is a really good receiver. So they have the pieces, and the offensive line did a good job for the most part protecting Blake Shapen. They could easily win this game because of their offense. The defense is what I worry about because yes, for the most part, it kept Southern Miss in check. But there still were far too many penalties allowed in this game. They out-penalized Southern Miss by 9 penalties. And the other thing is, they allowed Southern Miss to convert, if I'm not mistaken, 60% of all third down attempts. This is not the offense you want to do it against. Now, I will say, I was highly underwhelmed by the performance of Arizona State's offense in the game against Northern Arizona. Don't get me wrong, Sam Levitt was awesome. He had like 3 touchdowns on the day. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. But that jolt in the backfield that we thought you were going to see with Kanye Udo really wasn't there. Nobody truly separated themselves as a wide receiver 2 opposite of Jordan Tyson. So they have got to get better. And the credit for credits due also to Kenny Dillingham. He was very, very, very much dismayed by the game that they played out against Northern Arizona. The Lumberjacks were an FCS school, and he was mad that this thing was ever even remotely talked about in a negative light. So I think he's going to have them mentally prepared. Starkville is going to be raving. The cowbells are going to be humming. So my big thing is that if you can't establish a secondary wide receiver, if you are Arizona State, can you make sure that you have fewer penalties? Can you make sure that you don't you don't have self-inflicted wounds that allow you to be pushed back? That you don't end up watching yourself go from being in a 3rd and 1 to a 3rd and 6 because you don't know the snap count and your offensive tackle gets a false start. Those are things that when you go into Starkville, knowing what the sounds that echo into the Mississippi State sky, it is just a horrid concern. And if you don't mentally prepare yourself for it, you're going to lose this football game. Now, the good news is that I do like Arizona State's defense. They return 9 starters. They have a newcomer that is joining the squad that was a really good player last season. The staff continuity is another thing that's really big. They didn't lose anybody. They didn't lose anybody of their offensive line, their defensive line. Like the entire staff is back for another year. So that gives them the benefit of the doubt too. And I think playing on the road in this environment could be a tone setter that gets them back into the line of being a favorite in the Big 12. Like that's a given in my potential.
We'll get right back to chatting, but first, let's make some money. Grab your mobile phone, go get the Sleeper app. If you don't have that downloaded, use our code CFA. You get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Look what they've got on here right now. Bryce Underwood, more or less passing touchdowns, 0.5. Give me the more on that. I know it's a tough Oklahoma defense. I understand that. I like the more there. John Mateer, his is 1.5. I'm going to bet Bryce Underwood's right now while we're talking about it. John Mateer, more or less than 1.5 passing touchdowns. That's a tough one to me. I don't know. So I'm going to avoid it because I'm smart and want to avoid ones that I'm not sure about. But there's other stuff on here that you can check out. The Michigan-Oklahoma game is not it. Look at this one. You can do USF versus Florida. Lagway. a huge number, 265.5 passing yards. I like the less there. I don't think he's in as long. So I'm going to put both those together and I'm going to submit it. And it was just that easy. You pair a couple or more, whatever you want to do on the Sleeper app. They will help you make money. You can follow all the scores on here. Go check out the Sleeper app today. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. We appreciate them for their support. Go check them out. What is the, I'm trying to think of the way to phrase this, and I'm drawing a blank. See what happens when we do a nearly 10 p.m. show.
My fault.
Does Sam Levitt in this game, like, what would be his most likely scenario? Could you see a takeover type game where he just goes off against that defense?
I mean, he kind of had to, unfortunately, against Northern Arizona, the points that Cole was just making. I mean, you look at his line, 25 of 39 attempts against Northern Arizona, 257 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, then 7 carries, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was the leading rusher. He was tied with Kyson Brown, at least, in carries and rushing yards, but 2 touchdowns on the ground. Like, he had to be the center of the universe to beat Northern Arizona. So I'm encouraged because I think that's the leap that a lot of people were hoping to see from Sam Levitt. Could he be the guy who was more than just the dude handing the ball off to Cam Scatterbo? He proved, I think, at least against Northern Arizona, in a situation where he shouldn't have had to prove it there, that he can step up and be that guy. My issue with this is that Arizona State, it's a little bit different of a situation than what Mississippi State was dealing with against Southern Miss in week 1, where there were people saying that Southern Miss could pull off the upset. Now, obviously, that didn't happen, but between Jordan Tyson and Kyson Brown, you have 2 pretty solid receiving options. And Tyson went off for 12 receptions, 141 yards, and 2 touchdowns against Northern Arizona. It's an inferior secondary, is an understatement of the century. But Southern Miss peppered the ball around a lot. And in the end, Braylon Braxton, who also eerily similar to what Sam Levitt was dealing with, 26 of 39, about 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and then 12 carries for 58 yards. He was also the leading rusher. So I think there's evidence, at least early in the season, that if Sam Levitt has another game, the style of which he just had against Northern Arizona, and he moves the ball around a little bit more variety, then they should be okay in this game. But if they can bottle him up running the football and they can maybe limit Tyson, Mississippi State has a chance to pull this thing off.
I also want to correct myself. Southern Miss was 10 of 19 on third down. And I also want to make sure that I give credit where credit's due. There was only 14 penalties, but it was 8 penalties for Southern Miss. The other thing that I got to make sure is clear, and I got called out on this on SEC Unfiltered, so you are right if you are a Mississippi State fan. Arizona State was very undisciplined in their 38-19 win over the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks. They had 12 penalties for 93 yards. So things that could really make or break you in this game.
Remember on PTI when they used to have the guy that would do all the stat corrections and stuff? Cole does that for himself. That's really impressive. So everybody, round of applause for Cole Thompson. Let's predict it. Give me Arizona State 34-28.
Yeah, I do like that. I'm going to go.
Don't you dare steal it.
Arizona State has a 6.5 point spread. Over under is 59.5. I'm going to go the under on this one, just barely though. Like, give me 30-27, Arizona State.
TJ, your rule is life is too short to bet the under. Is that your rule?
Here goes Cole.
No, I'm asking, is that your rule?
Yeah, it's way too short.
Yeah, life is not too short. For me, the rule is Mississippi State's defense is too bad to ever take the under. Always bet the over when it comes to Mississippi State, especially in win totals. This could be a high-scoring game. I am hammering the over. It's one of my best bets of the week. I got 38-34 final score. I do think that Arizona State pulls this